What's up, everybody? I'm Kyle Carlson, and this is the Rollback BMX Podcast, the #1 BMX podcast in the universe, according to me. This week's guest is Mykel Larrin. 2018 has been the biggest year of Mykel's career. He won the X Games Park qualifier in Boise, Idaho, and went on to compete in Park, Mega Ramp, and Vert at X Games in Minneapolis. Mykel has had to overcome all sorts of adversity in his life and has gone on to somehow be an incredibly successful, positive guy. Listen up and get more familiar with one of the nicest guys in the BMX world. This is the Rollback BMX Podcast with Mykel Larrin. Let's party. What's up, Mykel? How are you, sir?
Good. How are you, man?
Good. How often do people call you Mykel?
more times than I can count.
Does that piss you off?
Nah. I mean, I got like a unique spelling for my name, so I feel like
it's spelled like Mykel, though. It's not spelled like Michael.
Yeah. I mean, it's just I've gotten so many different pronunciations, and it's funny too because it looks like what it is, you know. But I think most people are just kind of like, "Yeah, Mykel, what's up, man?" Like,
is there a story behind that name or anything, or is that
no? You know, my mom. I mean, she was the one that created it, and my brother and I both have different names. So my brother's name's Jarian. It's a combination of Jason and Ryan. So,
how do you spell that?
JARYAN.
Damn, that's like like Ja Rule.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, but that was, you know, something that she created, and she wanted us to be unique. And my mom, I mean, she's definitely like just a very unique person herself. So when she created our names, it was funny because in school there was nobody else that had that.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate, you know, her kind of theory behind that, and just having that kind of uniqueness, which was cool. But you know, growing up, that was always something that got butchered.
Yeah. One of those things that is probably rough during elementary school, but later on in life, it's like
dope.
Chicks don't forget Mykel.
Yeah, right.
They might forget Steve, but they're not going to forget Mykel.
Dude, so my mom was slick too, man. She was like, you know, when you explain your name to girls, like, you know, you got to be slick with it. You know, like, you know, I'm your Kel. My name's Mykel, whatever, you know, like she would just crack me up with it. I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. And it worked, you know, it was pretty funny, but yeah, it's different. Yeah.
Where is your mom in Wisconsin?
Yep.
Were you born and raised in Wisconsin, or where are you from originally?
Yeah, I grew up in Racine, Wisconsin, born and raised, and that was a dope area, man. That was, I mean, it's still to this day. I mean, they built that skate park I grew up riding at when I was around.
That outdoor
10.
wood park?
Yeah, Lake Pershing Skate Park.
Yeah.
And I was 10 years old, you know, it's like, so this year is actually the 20th anniversary for it. And that was Cuco Padilla and Brian Val that teamed together to do that. So I had no idea who Brian Val was. And
to this day, I have no idea who Cuco Padilla is. That's a great name, though.
You'll meet him someday. Dude, Cuco's the man. Is he a
BMX rider?
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So Cuco, I mean, he actually took me under his wing at a young age and kind of showed me the ropes. So I'd been, you know, beating my brain trying to figure out how to build a quarter pipe. And then in the newspaper, they said that they launched this new skate park. I'm like, man, that's crazy. So my mom's telling us, hey, go check it out. That'd be cool because you guys suck at building ramps. So now you can, you know, check that out. So we go down there, and I see him cutting a transition with a circular saw. Didn't know you could do that, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, that's how they freaking do it. That's crazy. So I approach him. I'm like, hey, man, just trying to see what's going on, man. If I can help, or you need help doing anything, like it just because I wanted.
And you were a child. You were 10 years old.
10 years old. I'm like, but that was gold to me. I'm like, I can do this at home now.
Yeah.
And so he's like, yeah, you know, if you want to grab that plywood, 4x8 sheets of plywood. So I'm dragging these pieces of plywood over, and in my head, I'm helping build a skate park now.
Yeah.
And it was a crash course lesson.
Part of it, yeah.
It was so dope, man. So and then Cuco, you know, my first bike, you know, and this is crazy. So I'd had crap bikes, you know, and my mom did her best with what she could, and she's like, all right, cool, we got this much money, we can get you a bike from Walmart. Sick. And the incentive was always like perfect attendance at school.
Okay.
So I was always good with that, and they would do you know, bike drawings, and if you have perfect attendance, you might win a free bike, whatever. So my mom would always incentivize, you know, certain rewards, you know, for these goals that we would set. And you know, we were just at that point, I was like, man, like my bike's just crap right now, I need something new. And I had actually lost the crank bolt on the way to the skate park one day, and I was like, man, this sucks, you know? And so I'm walking my bike home. I see Cuco, and he's like driving down. He says, hey, what are you doing, man? You going home? I'm like, yeah, man, I lost my crank bolt. I'm an idiot, dude. I don't know where. So I got to retrace my steps. And he's like, man, don't worry about it, bro. Just throw your bike in the back. There's something back there for you. I'll give you a lift. I'm like, thanks, dude. So there was a bike back there and a Gatorade. So I grabbed the Gatorade and I get in the truck, and he's like, what are you doing with my Gatorade, man? Like, you said there was something back. Wait, what? I was like, dude, the bike's for me? He was like, yeah, for sure, man. I talked to your mom, like, you're all good, man.
No
like,
way.
And it was a Hoffman bike, which is very ironic now that, you know, like I work with Matt, and I just love how things kind of come around like that. Cause you know, this year I got that, the whole bike powder coated red. My first ever Hoffman was red. I still have that, still hanging up in the garage.
That's cool.
And it was just so rad, man. And it was a Dirt Merchant 2 Prodigy series. And it was so rad. That was like, all right, now we're in it. And Kuko just, I mean, he would take me to contests, pay for my entry fees, drive, get me lunch. Like just, I was like the son he never had kind of thing.
That's awesome.
And at that time, you know, my father wasn't super in the picture or anything like that. So that was, you know, that type of mentorship was necessary. And he filled that role very well and exceeded my expectations. Because even to this day, like he was at X Games.
Oh, cool. Right
and it's just awesome being able to see where it's at now. Because nobody thought, I didn't think that. I was like, I'm just trying to have fun.
You're still tight with him. You still see him and talk to him a lot. That's awesome. So you kind of a single mom household? You said your dad wasn't around much?
Yeah, no, that was it, man. My brother and I have different dads. And, you know, when we were growing up, that was just one of the things. Like, I didn't know any different.
Yep.
And, you know, if I had to describe my mom, it's like if Oprah and Bob Vila had a baby. You know, so she's like this pioneer, strong-willed woman, man, that just, you know, very educated, eloquent person that is also a handyman and a badass. And she taught us how to use drills and saws and just everything, man. She made us very self-sufficient. And we also lived with my grandfather for a number of years. And if I had to describe him, it'd be like if Dean Martin and Ella Fitzgerald had a baby, that would have been my grandfather. So he taught us, you know, what chivalry was and how to be a gentleman, you know, and it was just cool to see those two dynamics in our lives growing up because, you know, before that, it was just my mom, and then my grandfather had a lot of influence, and I don't know, it was actually really rad growing up like that.
What did your mom do for work?
So when I was growing up, my mom was actually a DJ.
No way.
Which is dope, man. Yeah, so I'd come home, and she's got like these tall cabinets bumping, man. She's like, it was just vinyl back in the day, and then cassette comes out. And she would leave a piece of paper on the door that says recording. And so we need to like hush up because she was recording vinyl to cassette.
Oh, yeah. You know? Right on.
And so it's just a very, very bubbly personality, man. Just, you know, always encouraging. And it was funny because when I was growing up, man, like she was riding penny boards.
No shit.
And yeah, so she was the one that actually got us into riding.
Wow.
Know? And so she'd like, you know, hold us between her legs and push us around. We're like, man, this is cool, man. I want to go fast. All right, cool. And then bikes became the thing. So it was just one of those things, like she did the disc jockey work for a long time, and then she actually developed like some panic disorders.
Okay.
And so she was like kind of just in the house, really couldn't go around big crowds anymore. And it was unfortunate, man, because, you know, that being such a debilitating thing, you know, she was still bubbly, you know, herself, but just couldn't be out and about like that anymore. So, but she battled through that, and recently, I mean, she just kind of overcame that maybe 2-3 years ago.
Because she was at X Games, right?
Yeah, and
that's a huge crowd.
Yeah, man.
And she did good?
She did amazing, man.
Nice, man.
And even on top of that, too, it's like she's overcome so much adversity. And I remember her, it was like Christmas or something like that a few years ago. She's like, I think I'm going to run for alderman. Like, you know, what? You know, I was like, you don't work for the city? Like, that's alderman's. That's a huge job. Man.
Yeah.
She was like, yeah, I want to go for it. I'm like, all right, let's do it. Like, what do you need? How can I help? You know, and she freaking won.
No shit.
Yeah, so she, you know, she's alderman, and she's alderman for the district that I grew up in. So that's really, really cool.
That is cool.
You know, I'm just proud of her, man, because she, you know, she's overcome a lot, and she's just a really good example for, you know, chasing your dreams and just being in that position where that adversity is just fuel.
Yeah.
You know?
Did you guys grow up in like a hood part of town, or was it like in a nice area, or like what kind of stuff was around you when you were growing up?
Yeah, I mean, growing up, it was a pretty, I don't know, like there's a lot of stuff happening. You know what I'm saying? Like it wasn't the best area, but it's kind of normal, to be honest, you know, so you hear like the sirens or you hear some gunshots here and there. And, you know, it wasn't over the years. I think that it's progressively gotten better each year, you know, and
the neighborhood is better now than it was when you lived there.
Way better. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Which is dope. And it's like small stuff, like they plant trees in the parkway. They changed some of the street lights and, you know, fixing potholes, repaving the streets, like all these different things that were implemented, which is cool. But, you know, growing up, it was just one of those things, man, like you go to the corner store, you know, put the plastic shopping bag over your shoulders like a backpack and just cruise, man. It was like, you know, hot Cheetos and all that stuff was just like our MO, you know?
Yeah. What, do you ever play traditional sports?
I did.
What did you play?
Yeah, so growing up, track was my thing. I did wrestling, basketball, did volleyball, like just anything I could get my hands on, but track was like my main thing.
I mean, were you doing that and riding BMX at the same time?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
How did you kind of gravitate towards BMX more so than that? Because I mean, there's a potential future in that. You can get a scholarship and go off to college and whatnot.
No, and that was the thing. So in college, I actually had 12 different opportunities for track to run track at these schools. And
so you were really good at it.
Yeah, dude, it was fun, man, because that was like an outlet for me, you know.
Yeah.
And so in the wintertime, it was wrestling. I had to be able to exert some type of energy, be creative, do something, and winters in Wisconsin are gnarly. So sick.
Yeah.
It was just one of those dynamics that, track became a part of my expressive outlet, so the balance between the two is like, all right, man, I can only run straight. I got 100 meters or 200 meters. That was like my thing, doing the sprints.
Okay.
That's very binary, but at the same point in time, there's a clear winner, all that different stuff. You can only do so much, it's a numbers game,
Yeah.
And then with BMX, there's no cap, there's no ceiling.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. True. And it was, kind of between me and the bike, which is nice. So, I turned down all those scholarships because I was like, kind of nerdy back then too. And I wanted to go to college for architecture. So, in that, I was like, I turned down all the athletic scholarships, and I got one academic scholarship that paid for all my college, and I'm grateful because I worked my butt off for that. But it was just one of those opportunities that I was still trying to balance BMX at that time,
Yeah.
And I just started doing Dew Tour, so it was a hard balance. So you got Dew Tour, BMX, track, school, like so
So did you
much.
run track in college as well?
No, I turned down all the athletic scholarships so I could do architecture,
Okay. Gotcha.
and then, but even then, dude, I would have been so strapped. Like that program for architecture was so demanding. Let alone trying to compete with BMX as well, like doing Dew Tour. And I was new on the scene, so I was trying to earn my keep,
Yeah. You got to make an impression.
Yeah,
Get one shot at that.
Yeah, and it was fun. It was a huge life lesson, man. So, but between that, I mean, traditional sports and action sports, I feel like with action sports, man, it's just one of those things. Like, it's such a creative outlet, and the coined phrase of like freestyle, it's like you can literally create whatever you want, man, which is nice. And I think that the regiment and the schedule of traditional sports sometimes takes a little bit away from it. And with action sports, like BMX is so sick to me, man. It's just one of those things, like I still have the innocence behind it, which is nice.
Yeah.
And I've never looked at it like a job or anything like that. It's just one of those things I really, really, really enjoy, having that creative outlet.
Yeah. Was it ever strange for you being like a young black man in the sport?
So it's funny you asked that. When I was younger, I remember seeing an ad, and or two ads actually. One was with Sean Butler, one was with Ronnie Chalk, and that was my first vision ever that there was like a brother that did that. I was like, man, this is crazy. And where I grew up, that wasn't a thing. You play basketball, football, wrestle, something. It's traditional sports.
Yeah.
So
I think it's still that. I mean, obviously a lot has changed, but I think it kind of seems like a lot of like the black families push traditional sports and aren't as open to action sports. I don't know if it's a conscious thing or it just happens and works out that way.
I don't think there's that many skate parks in those type of areas, right?
That makes sense.
Where I grew up, I mean, the fact that skate park, that like Racine Skate Park, that number one existed in the first place to come into creation was insane. The fact that it's still there is even more wild to me. And it's like, the poverty levels of some of these cities, like you see a skate park in Oakland.
Yeah.
Are people really there? Like, what part of the city is that skate park in? How does that cater to the demographic that's there?
Yeah.
So you're not going to see skate parks in the hood. And if you are, it's like a couple bump jumps, something small, it's like, it's a recreation area. You know?
Yeah.
So, but what do you see more of? Basketball courts, football fields, baseball, whatever, so the traditional sports get a little bit more love there just because it's more, more common, if you will, so, so it was different, man. And I had, cats kind of, making fun in high school, like, oh, what, you gonna go skate park? I'll show them my skateboard, because I had skateboard and stuff still, like in high school. And they were just kind of like, oh, so you trying to be Tony Hawk, bro? I was like, no, I was trying to have fun, man. I was like, oh, so you do that white boy stuff. I'm like, what's race got to do with anything?
Yeah.
And that was my first interpretation, like, man, these people got totally different mindset,
Yeah.
So having that balance of, race and the social class and all that status, all that stuff was tough, and I was just trying to have fun.
Yeah. No, so, I think that's kind of what it's all about, And I'd like to think people would enter basketball or football or wrestling with the same approach as well.
Right.
If you're not having fun, what are you doing, man?
What's the point? Yeah.
Like, find something that's fun then.
Mm-hmm. My grandfather, man, he was a smart dude. Quoted Confucius, and he was like, man, you do something you love, like you'll never work another day in your life. And I was young. He said that to me in middle school, and it just stood out, and as smart of a guy he was so blunt sometimes, and the life lessons, now looking back, I can connect the dots and see what he was trying to show me.
Is he still around?
No, he passed away years and years ago, but it was just one of those opportunities where I'm like, man, this dude, he knows what's up. you know, and I'm so reserved. I'm like, man, I would always ask him questions. My mom's busy doing something. I don't want to bother her. So I'd be like, hey, how does that work? How does the, power drill work? Or how does the car work? And he would always entertain me, man. He'd always like, share. He's like, well, have a seat. Let's discuss this, and he treated me like an adult. And that was necessary, at that age, because there was a lot of maybe gaps that I didn't understand in my life, with that, my dad not being there. My dad's trying, like he came back into my life around like, 6, and he's trying to, fix himself and get his stuff together. And like, there's this, I don't know, there was always something being, for the lack, there was always extra. There was always like overflowing abundance in certain areas of my life that now looking back, I'm glad I took, appreciation for it, because that type of gratitude, now looking at it, I was like, man, I'm like, I live that and I'm stoked on it because it's a part of me now.
No, it sounds good to have people like your grandfather around and whatnot, because I think one of the hard parts when people come from divorced parents and whatnot is you miss that father figure or whatever. And if you had him and the guys at the skate park and stuff, I think that probably helped you develop into who you are, and it's weird to say fortunate in a situation like that, but I mean, it's it's a fortunate thing when it comes to that. What's your brother do? Is he older?
Yeah, so I got older brother. He's 2 years older. That's Jerian. I got a younger brother. His name's Kyrie, and got a younger sister named Jaquasia. And
I didn't realize your family was that big. Yeah,
so my younger siblings are on my dad's side.
Okay, gotcha.
And then my older brother, we have different dad. But that's my mom. So so I have no like straight blood.
So your mom is just you and your brother.
Yep.
Okay, and that was the family growing up. Mm-hmm. Nice.
And so but it was just us three,
Yeah. What's your brother do?
So my brother's manager of this company, and he's cool as heck, man, because like we all grew up riding bikes, and I just remember, dude, he was always bigger, better, faster, stronger, all that different stuff. I'm like,
how much older?
2 years.
Okay.
But it was like the perfect, he's 12, I'm 10, so he's hitting puberty, so he's like balls to the wall, just going nuts. And I'm just like, he's doing 360s over jumps, and I'm like, man, how do you do that? And it was just sick because he would always share that knowledge, man. And he shaped a lot of my riding style, and he was a huge influence, So now, I mean, he has 2 kids, kills it. Like he has so much fun, man, with his family, and both my nephews ride. And it's just one of those things, like doing the management work, he loves that. He really enjoys it. And it's just one of those things, like I know he still loves BMX as well. So the times he'll like...
So he still hop on the bike on occasion?
Yep.
Nice.
So it's funny, man. He'll send me a clip of him at the skate park. I'm like, all right, I see you, man. So...
Is he still in Wisconsin?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's fun, man. He was at X Games too.
Oh, right on.
That was his first time this year. So...
Was your dad out there also?
My dad wasn't. We talked about having him out, and he just had some stuff he had to do with work. But
would that be weird with your dad and your mom there, or is everything cool?
No. I mean, they have so much respect and love for each other, and it was just one of those things. Like my dad is a very like straight shooter, and he has a lot of respect for my mom, and he always gave her credit. He's like, I wasn't able to be there, man, and it was unfortunate, but like. Your mom did all the work, and he loves her for that, because it could have went very wrong.
And respect to him for acknowledging that and recognizing that.
Yeah, it takes a real man.
It does. It does. To sit back and be like, I wasn't there, and you did everything, and you're awesome.
Yeah. No. And in addition to that, too, it's crazy, because I remember when him and I first started to hang out for the first year or two, he would always say, he's like, I wasn't there, man, and I just want to get to know you, Mm-hmm. I could be your friend, but I'm your father. And it's like one of those things, takes a real man to be a dad. I'm learning that. And, there's a lot, I'm his firstborn, so a lot lot of that stuff.
Was he young when you were born?
Yeah, he was super young, man. I think he was like 17.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
But at 17, I mean, this dude was already like 6'3",
yep.
275, like big dude, So it was just one of those things that like, he was, I don't know, he was learning a lot about life at that time too. And based on his circumstances, it was like, he had a lot of adversity that he was, working through as well. So being that young, it's like, you got an older chick talk to you, like, what up? You're like, stoked, So I could imagine, it's just the amount of ground that he's covered as a man makes me very proud, because
is he a good dad to your younger sisters on his side?
It's amazing.
Nice.
Yeah. I see the development, and I see the character that he's been able to obtain through his lessons. And that is like, when I see that man stand in front of me, I got so much respect for it, because for me, I don't care. Like, past is the past.
Yeah.
And the fact of like the type of conversations that we have these days, and his character, it's like if you judge somebody based on the merit of their character, he's killing it, Yep. And it's just one of those things, like he learned from all that stuff to appreciate these moments now where there's no more lack.
Is he in Florida? Did I make that up?
Nope, Jacksonville. Yep.
Okay.
You're right.
You go out there at all and hang out with him? Or?
I do, man. So there's been a few times, and it's crazy because he's still so young looking that that youthful appearance always trips people up because they're like, you guys brothers or you know, and I'm like, no, that's my dad, man. They're like, what? That's your dad? You're like, yeah, that's my dad, man. And I just think it's really rad just because he has such a youthful mindset, and he's just, I don't know, he's so curious about certain things in life, and he just wants to hang out. You know, so him and I can go grab a drink somewhere and get some dinner and just enjoy it, man. And
does he seem proud of what you've accomplished in BMX?
Yeah. I mean,
does he get it? I mean, I know it's kind of a foreign idea to so many.
I mean, he used to ride BMX.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, growing up. So in Racine, there was a high school called Park High School, and there were some dirt jumps behind it. And my dad used to go back there, and I mean, he's a tall dude.
Yeah.
So it's like Brian Val riding a bike. And so they didn't have 22 inches back then. It was just like 20-inch bikes. And
Yep.
And so so he'd go back there. So when we talk about BMX, he's all about it, man. You know?
Yeah.
And so, but he tells me all, he's like, you know, proud of you, son. You know, you paving a way. And, you know, he's just grateful that, you know, this platform, he knows it's not normal, so to say.
Yep.
And then it's a very unique opportunity. And so the fact that I'm able to do what I do, he's just pumped that I get this lens to live through.
When you were growing up and you had the skate park in Racine, were there other things to ride out there, or was it kind of that's where you rode every day?
No, it became the place that we rode every day.
That's a really good park, right?
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's that hands down shaped so much of my riding, and then the scene in itself between like stuff Appleton, like we're like, so Brian Kaczynski grew up in Neenah area, and there was a place out there called Undercover. That skate park was amazing. You had Area 51, Fryman's place. And then you had Mundelein down in Illinois. You had Scrap Skate Park, Jimmy Walker's place. And then there was like all these different skate parks that just popped up everywhere. Four Seasons Skate Park in Milwaukee. You had everything.
Yeah.
And there was such a plethora.
How far is Racine from Milwaukee?
28 miles.
Oh, okay,
It's
cool.
close.
Okay, yeah.
So it was just one of those dynamics where you're like, man, yo, you got everything, which is crazy. Then it's like, if I wanted to go to Area 51 and watch Fryman ride, I could do that. You know?
Yeah.
And guys like Kaczynski and that whole crew up in Undercover, and just Walker's crew, Koji, all those people down in like Chicago. It was dope, man. So I'm very fortunate to have had the scene growing up in there. But Racine had everything, man. It was like we still had the dirt jumps. There was a house that got torn down a few blocks from mine, or a few houses down from mine, and the city would just dump dirt, so we'd shape them up. And we had no idea. We're trying to shape a lip with a spade. Like, it's not, but we didn't know. You know, we didn't have the water, nothing. But we were just kids having fun. And there was a ton of street everywhere, banks to fences, you name it. So we'd ride street and then hit the dirt jumps and then go to skate park and then, you know, ride street on the way back. And I mean, that I got to live such a dope childhood that it was like a combination of the Wonder Years meeting Sandlot. You know what I mean? Like, it was just a very innocent, fun childhood amidst all the adversity and poverty. Like, that honestly was like the last thing on my mind, just because my mom did such a great job and my grandfather, and we just had a good community.
You know, that's kind of a really important area, especially in the history of BMX as well. The Midwest during that time with those riders, man, like, it's cool to be a product of that.
I agree.
Did you take a lot of influence from a lot of those riders in the Midwest at the time?
100%. Yeah. I mean, I couldn't do, like, if you, like, we'll talk about Fryman, like, there was no way at that age that I was capable of doing any of the stuff that he did, but the influence was there, which is nice. And so when I would see any of the nose tricks that he would do, I didn't even have front brakes, but I would play around on the ground, try to do some flatland, do something. I'm like, man, that's so crazy, you know?
Yeah.
Same with Spritzer and Kevin Porter and Brian Val and like Rick Moliterno and Koji, all those guys. It was such a heavy crew. And I remember I had a conversation with Brandon Harris, and Brandon's another one that's just a huge product of the Midwest. And it's like, this dude can do anything. You know, and
he did a lot of stuff like 10 years ago that I don't know if it's been repeated. He did some crazy stuff, man.
I agree. You know, so that type of influence is so dope. And so I'm, you know, having this conversation with Brandon, he's like, man, it's like, you ever sit back and kind of, you just kind of think, you know, sometimes like just the heavy hitting crew that came out of this area, and I got to pinch myself sometimes because it trips me out.
Yeah.
You know, that there was that, it wasn't just one dude. Some towns just have that one guy, but it's like, you know, seeing like Garcia and Kagi, like what they had in NorCal, and then stuff that you would see on the East Coast and PA, and like, you know, like Doyle's scene, how he grew up with that. Like, there's all these different areas, and I'm just grateful that I got Midwest, you know, because it was such a variety, you know?
Yeah. Did you ever ride front brakes?
A few times, yeah. I had some standard Peg Boss forks.
Nice.
And that was like huge because I was always wrecking my hubs and stuff, and so those forks came out, and I had some like die comp front brakes, and they didn't work that well, but like, you know, I tried to figure it out, and
I think it's an obligation growing up in the Midwest. You have to at least give it a shot.
Oh, yeah. Dude, and it was great because my first... So my first nose pick, I just remember I was actually riding Kuko's bike because he had front brakes. He had a standard STA 500 with those peg bosses. And
nice.
I just remember rolling away from a nose pick with front brakes because I couldn't do foot jams yet.
Yeah.
And that honestly was like landing my first bar spin, landing my first no footer, jumping a box and clearing it good, like whatever it was.
A milestone.
But yeah, I was like, I'm here, you know? And I felt like, honestly, I did that nose pick. And I just watched Frymouth, probably, I forget what contest series that was. But there was a local exposure.
Okay.
Right? So I remember seeing Frymouth do, it was like a nose pick to a toothpick, back up to a nose pick, no footer.
I remember that clip.
And I was like, you got to be kidding me. So I felt like I just did a nose pick, but I felt like, I was like, man, I feel like Frymouth, man, this is sick, you know? So,
not so fast.
Yeah. So it's iconic, man. It's just, you know, but yeah, the Midwest, that whole scene, I mean, still to this day is, you know, true to my heart.
Was it hard to move away?
Nah, you know, that's a good question. I don't think so, just because I knew that I was kind of exhausting my resources while I was there.
Yeah. Riding
dudes where I was riding vert. I didn't have a vert ramp. So my vert ramp back then that I would, you know, kind of simulate was a 9-foot quarter.
Yeah.
With no vert, you know, so I'm riding that and I'm showing up
scared.
Yeah. Well, the thing was like, part of it was fear because I knew that in the back of my mind, I'm trying to go off.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing these guys when I'm watching Kagi and Bestwick and Simon, everybody, like they're all going nuts, you know? And at that time, I just met George Javell at a contest. I think it was like Salt Lake City or Portland. And him and I are talking. I'm like, man, this is so sick. And George's like, yeah, man, like you're killing it, bro. You just got to like, you know, tone it down just a little bit and everything will work a lot easier, man. You're just forcing it. And that's because I was riding that small quarter pipe. And so to show up underprepared, I know that I'm going to go off.
Yeah.
And that wasn't always, you know, in the same level of safety, you know? So it's like, I thought I always crack up, man, just seeing the dynamic between those two things. But like, yeah, I don't know. Like it was good.
How do you feel about where Vert is today? You're probably the one of two, maybe you and Vince Byron, the two guys under 35 that actually take it seriously, I feel like.
No, I appreciate that, man. I mean, I like where it's at. I mean, it's one of those things where, you know, Bestwick's been so dominant and it's not any play on anything but like we got to ride harder, ride more. And Bestwick has so many years on all of us.
He does.
You know, same with Simon and Dennis. And
wisdom.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So to be honest, I mean, my first vert comp was in 2009. So I've only been doing it for like 10 years.
Yeah.
9 years, you know? So, so for that and what it's worth, it's like, it used to be 5 contests. Now it's only 1. I just think that there's, you know, a lot of opportunity to grow, but it's this time put in. Did
you just start riding vert because it was something else you could do at Dew Tour?
No, it was a wild card spot, dude.
Okay.
So I was, I'll make a long story short. I was at Salt Lake City, Utah. I was there for Park, right?
Okay.
And I'm stoked. I'm like, man, this is so much fun. I actually showed up hurt the week before that. And I think this was like the year previous. Alan Cook won dirt with the Superman seat grab.
Okay.
Flip, you know,
right?
Yeah. So I'm just like, man, it's so crazy. And like, I mean, Alan was just a huge influence. Like I really enjoyed watching him ride and just his style was sick and it still is. But just, I would see that. I'm like, man, I got to learn that. Because in my head, like I'm showing up to the Park finals to that Gatorade Free Flow tour and I'm trying to throw down, you know? So I go in the foam pit. I'm at the Flow Skate Park in Ohio, get upside down and I mess it up. And I let go of the bike. I go in the foam pit. Bike comes down on top of me, and the peg goes through my helmet.
Oh, wow.
Right? So I got 14 staples. I'm knocked out, just bleeding out in the foam pit kind of thing. Get to the hospital, get all stapled up. So I got 14 staples. I'm like, man, this is crazy. Like, I don't know what to do. This contest is next week. It's all paid for. What do I do? And I talked to my mom about it, and she was like, I think you should go. I was like, I really want to go, but I'm hurt. I don't know what to do. She was like, just don't say nothing. So I actually carved out a half-cut helmet. So the staples didn't get pressed on. But then I saw a photo of the course. I'm like, dude, I gotta wear my full face. There's no way, because I'm trying to go off. It's
big shit.
Yeah, and it was like they had that like 3-foot lip, and then it was like an 8-foot drop, 10-foot deck.
That. Yep.
That step down.
Yep.
And so the only thing I wanted to do was flip it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm gonna start my run with that. So I had my full face. I see this guy's name's Gio. He's on the course. He's like, oh, this is so sick, isn't it? I'm like, man, this is crazy. He's like, I just got a wild card spot for Vert. I was like, oh, no way, man, that's crazy. He only had he had a 3/4 helmet. And I was like, man, that's crazy. Didn't think he was fishing or anything, but I was like, I mean, my helmet might fit, bro, if you want to wear it. Like, got a full face. He's like, for real? I'm like, yeah, whatever, man. So it fit him. I'm like, I'll show up tomorrow. I'll come cheer you on, man. I'll bring my helmet. He's like, no way. I'm like, yeah, man, whatever. It's fucking BMX. It's dope.
Yeah,
like, I got you. Next morning, show up, he actually went home with food poisoning.
Ooh.
So I'm sat with Catfish on the flat bottom area of the vert ramp, and I'm just watching practice. And a guy by the name of Zach from the Gatorade team yells down. He's like, "Yo, man, hey!" I look up. He's like, "You want to ride vert?" And I like kind of give an elbow to Catfish. I'm like, "Yeah, man, they want you in there, man." He's like, "He ain't talking to me, man. He's talking to you." And then I point to my chest. I'm like, "You talking to me?" He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "All right, cool, man." I'm thinking practice. I wasn't even thinking anything.
Get up there and cruise. And...
He's like, "Cool, you got a wild card spot." And that was Gio's spot. And if it wasn't, just like, yeah, take my helmet, yada, yada, yada. Like, because I was satisfied. The park thing with the Gatorade Free Flow Tour is you had to win first, right? To get a spot in the Dew Tour.
Okay.
I was in like 18th place.
Okay.
And I rocked my second run, and I ended up taking third. So that podium for that contest was Matt Wyatt won, Chad Curley got second, I got third place.
Damn.
So that just stacked podium as it was. I was like, dude, this is crazy. Like, and I just met Chad then. And it's cool to see the evolution of everybody's riding styles and where we're at today. But, Chad and I will talk about that and how cool that event was. And and so I was already set. I would have slept in. I'm satisfied, man. And I'm already hurt on top of that. I'm like, dude, got nothing to lose. So, I'll ride vert. And an hour later, I'm winning that contest. And that began my vert career.
That's insane.
It was just wild, man.
So you hadn't really ever ridden vert before then?
Maybe 2 hours of my life. And that was at Lake Owen.
So did you actually do some good stuff, or were you just kind of like cruising and everybody else was bad?
No, I feel like it was a dope contest, man. And I threw down. Like, I feel like in my head, I just treated it like a mini ramp.
Yeah.
So once I figured out, like, all right, cool, I've been here before. I've ridden it maybe 2 hours, like I said, but I tried to just put a line together, just like I did on the skate park.
Yeah.
And it worked out so great, man. And I fell on my second run trying something, and I think it was like messed up on like a down whip or something like that, and just looped out. And I was like, all right, cool, well, I'm already hurt. That was tight. Whatever. Like, it was a bonus, man.
Yeah.
And then they were doing the place calling and all that stuff. And I was like, maybe I took 5th or 6th. I don't know, man. And then they said my name for first place. I'm like, you got to be kidding me, man.
Who else was in that contest? Do you remember?
Oh, man. Last names I'm not sure, but I remember there was Nick Summerlot was in there.
Okay.
So that's the last name there. Nick Summerlot. This kid, Joey. Mike
Payne?
Mike Payne was in it, I think, yeah. And so those are just a couple other guys, but how crazy, man! Like, and that was the last time Dew Tour was in Orlando.
Okay.
2009. That was my first Dew Tour comp ever. Because before then I was trying to ride park.
Yeah.
You know, so vert became a thing. Kind of fell into it.
So was it something you just kind of fell into, or did you also happen to enjoy it?
Oh no, I enjoyed it so much because it was uncharted territory, right? So like in my head, I had so much to learn, just like in park. So I was still riding park and vert at the same time, but with vert, I would emulate Mira and Kevin Robinson and Chad Kagi, and like those guys were such a huge influence for me. And then all that being kind of umbrellaed by Hoffman, Yeah. And so, because like, Hoffman's like the ultimate influence of everybody. So I look at that, I'm like, man, it's so crazy. So I'd have like a little bit of peppered influence from each of these guys. And the fact that the bike I was riding was like a Hoffman. And then I'm at these contests, I'm like, dude, this is crazy, man. Like it's such a treat, to be able to kind of encapsulate all those emotions into one, and it's just a half pipe. It's very bare bones. You're stripped back.
The simplest ramp possible, essentially. Yep. Do you still ride vert a lot when you're home?
Yeah. So I'll ride at Claremont all the time, and that's probably one of the doper ramps that exists.
When you go to Claremont, do you just ride vert, or do you kind of ride everything?
Everything. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, man. So Claremont's got such variety, and it's cool because it's like the skater cross.
Yeah.
You can get down on that, pump around, get a little, it's kind of a workout, if you ride it a ton, but it's fun, and then the back section, super sick. That's something that's new. But aside from that, I can go from the street section to the park section to skate across to vert, and all of that stuff, I get the same kick. It's
a shame that that's rare these days. I feel like back in the day, everybody kind of rode everything. And here, not this day and age, like I remember it was crazy at X Games last week because it was like, Mykel's in 3 sports, or three events. That's crazy. And it's like, back in the day, everybody rode everything.
That was normal, yeah.
Yeah. But, to each their own. I guess maybe that's part of progression, to take things to the extreme and whatnot. But
true. But, we look back at, say, McCoy.
Yeah.
He was doing park, flatland, vert. He was all over the place.
Got some heavy street clips, 3 and downstairs and shit. Yeah.
Even Chad Kagi.
Chad Kagi had badass street stuff, man.
Dude, he's doing gap to rails, and platform stuff, and Chad... Unfortunately, like people just know him more for vert and mega ramp or big air, and I see that I'm like, no, like history, man, like his foundation, like Chad wrote everything. This dude was trying like wall ride to flare on heavy bikes. Like way back
I
in the day.
remember a clip he had in a props, and it was at an old Roots Jam in Florida. And it was a transfer. It was like from one box jump, and then like the landing was like another ramp or something. But he had to jump like across the whole park and did a Superman seat grab bar spin.
Yeah.
I was
crazy.
like, that trick doesn't even exist anymore. Like, and he was doing it in a transfer 15 years ago, man.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, Chad's badass.
Yeah, and it's I love the fact that this dude's had so much influence, you know, not only in my life, but in other people's, you know, styles and riding. And it's just, this is one of those things, like, he's such a great friend. And then on top of that, too, you know, he kills it so much on a bike. It's hard not to enjoy him as a person, him as a rider, and to see, I don't know, man, just to see his contributions to BMX.
Yeah.
That alone, I don't care if it's a vert ramp, street clip, big air, whatever it is. He shreds. And it's just one of those things that I really, really gravitate towards, that type of genuine approach to BMX, because that's how we all started. And you'd be like, oh, all right, cool, we're riding this bank to wall. All right, and then you got Chad hauling ass out of nowhere. You're like, where you going, bro? He's like, you didn't see this transfer? Like, he's all about it, man. So I like his character on that.
How was X Games riding the 3 events, riding Vert, Mega Ramp, and Park? Was that overwhelming, or was it cool?
No, it was awesome, man.
Yeah.
And so for me, I mean, imagine if I'm at Claremont, right, and I'm just riding, just doing my thing. It's obviously a bigger platform being at X Games, but to be honest, it was kind of like, all right, well, this is what we're doing. I do that all the time anyway. And I was just pumped for the platform, man. I mean, that opportunity is huge. And, you know, to be in that position and say, go from big air ramp to the vert ramp to the park, like that was, I don't know, it's just fun, man. Like, I'm just riding bikes, and schedule wise, yeah, that was tough, because it was hour by hour. I maybe had 2 hours to myself each day between going to the bathroom and taking a shower and whatever else, you know, trying to eat and find the schedule to relax, you know. But aside from that, it's like I live for those moments just to be stoked and having fun, and I got to, you know, have my plate full, which is nice.
Do you think you would have potential to do better if you focused on 1 or 2 things, or is it not even about that and you'd rather just ride them all and have fun, or do you think you have as much potential either way?
I think that the potential is even keel across the whole platform. If I just had Vert, you know, for example, I think I would have so much fun with it. I would still put that time in, but aside from that, like, you know, you practice for 2 hours leading into it.
Yeah.
What are you doing for the rest of the day? I'm thinking about riding. Most people are just like, oh, okay, we get food, you do this and that, explore the city. Like, I've been to Minneapolis before. It's an awesome city. But the fact that I get to do that again and again and again, like those 3 events, I mean, I was having the time of my life, man. And I wasn't stressed out like, oh man, I got 2 hours here, and then I got to go to park, and then I got to do this, and I got to do this interview. It wasn't too much. I honestly feel like between fitting in meals and just, you know, having the energy to do it, it was just one of those things. I'm just a kid in a candy store. Like, when I was younger, I was always going to the skate park, say if it was a summer day, 8 a.m. breakfast, 9:30 I'm on my way to the skate park, get down there, I'd ride from like 10 to 2, come home from lunch for like 2 to 3, go back down from like 3:30 to 10 every day. Just because I loved it that much.
That's a pretty serious training regimen.
Yeah, but see, right? But so if it was that thing, like, do we say it's training? Do we say it's living a lifestyle? Like, what is that? Because for me, all I could think about, like, oh, okay, I did a fufu on the quarter. I can't wait to do it on the sub. I'm gonna go learn that.
I think it's just simply passion. If you like something that much, you want to do it as much as you can.
Straight up, yep.
You know, what's your relationship like with the Mega Ramp?
I love it, to be honest, man. I know that it bites pretty hard sometimes when things don't go right, but at the end of the day, that's probably like the most organic adrenaline rush that I've experienced with BMX. And say, when I was younger, it was jumping off a curb.
Yeah,
you know? I was like, oh man, I'm going.
And now you need a 30-foot quarter pipe.
Yeah. But the thing is I still get that with like, say we watched you know, Dennis's part yesterday for the market video, and seeing that type of riding, that I'm sure is such a gnarly adrenaline rush. And I would get the same thing if I'm about to bomb down a 20-stair rail. That's going to be the same as Mega for me, just because for me, that's a little bit more uncharted territory. Like, I've never done like an ice pick down a 20-stair rail ever.
Yeah.
But it's the same approach in my head when it comes down to the dynamics of how you do it, the principles behind it. So, I mean, I love Mega Ramp, man, because it's the same thing. It exposes you. It's stripped back, you know, the biggest jump that you can imagine to the biggest quarter pipe you could imagine. I prefer the quarter pipe so much, man. And it's like this year I pushed the jump a little bit more and had the quarter pipe to do it kind of 50-50.
What was your run this year? The one you pulled and got you on the board?
It was a backflip Superman Indian Air to double whip. double down with.
What's the highest you've gone on that quarter?
If I'm not mistaken, like 22.3.
That's so big, man.
Yeah, no, I love it, man. It's so fun. It's fun, but that's the thing. I remember my first time going over 20. Morgan comes over, and Morgan's like, "What's up, bro?" I'm like, "What's up, man?" He's like, "So I just want to welcome you to the 20 club," and he gives me nuts. I'm like, I look up and I see the meter measurement. I'm like, "No, all right, tight. Thanks, man."
Yeah.
So it's like, it's a lot, man. And at that point, to get an extra foot is like a mile's work, man. Like it's so much to do that and to be comfortable and reserved and chill, because the more relaxed you are, the higher you go. You fight it, it'll bite back.
Yeah.
So it's a weird dynamic, but I love it, man. That's where my heart's at there. My heart's in the skate park too, and riding dirt jumps. But skate park, like just BMX in general. That's such a dope adrenaline rush.
Dude, people love BMX. A lot of people in our lives love BMX. But I feel like you love it more than most people.
No, I appreciate it, man. Shoot, man.
Like a genuine, sincere, like you're still a fan. You still get really happy and excited about everything, like in a good way. Like it seems very pure.
It is, man. And I appreciate that, because it's that type of, I still have the innocence, like I said before, to it. And I don't, like if I could be riding down the street, bro, like just hitting the driveway.
Yeah.
Like that, if I can jump into a drive, I mean, the pitch is nothing, into it, but just knowing that I'm catching just a little bit of air, catching the backside of a driveway, like that makes me happy, because at the end of the day, if I'm 60 and I can still cruise and just like get a little bit of height off a curb, it could be inches.
Yeah.
I'm happy. Yeah. I'm happy, man. So, that's the lens I've been able to live my life through now. And that's why I'm so stoked on it, because I can continuously like clean the lens, refocus it if I need to, and have it be, in relation to like my happiness. I could have it always be like really, really focused, and have it be something that is organic, genuine, and something that is different, which is cool. So
how important to you is it to pass that on? I see you're always super open and going out of your way to talk to kids and stuff, even whether it's at X Games or the park, your local park. I feel like you're the type of pro I would want to meet if I was a child. I feel like, because
thanks, man.
Because you're just a nice guy and you talk to people like a human being, as opposed to like you sign the autograph and get out of the way or whatever. Like how important to you is that, and how much do you do that for the sake of the sport and whatnot, not just because you're a really nice guy?
I mean, I think for me, I was that kid.
Yeah.
So it's super important to me, and the fact that there'd be guys that just gave me their time. It wasn't about the autograph. It was more so about the time and some of that information that they would share with me. It might be, like say my first time meeting Mira, right? We're due tour Chicago, hanging out. Pre-qualified practice was after ours, so I'm in OQ. It's chaos, man. There's so many of us on the course. You can't get it. I got maybe 4 runs that were subpar. So just like I'm all over the place. Everybody, they clear the course. All right, it's pre-qualified only. Dave's the first one on there because that was his work ethic. And Dave shows up. He's like, "Hey, man, how's the course?" I'm like, "Dude, this is Dave. This is crazy, And he's like, "Oh, I'm Dave, by the way." I'm like, "Hey, I'm Mykel, man." He's like, "Oh, good to meet you, man." And he's like, "Yeah. So how's the course?" I'm like, "Pretty good, man." And nobody was saying anything like for me to get off the course. I'm like, I'm gonna just keep riding. And he's like, "All right, have you done?" There's like after the box jump, there was a vert wall and like a curve wall right to the right. And so Dave's like, "Have you hit that yet?" It's like, No. He's like, "All right, if I hit it, you hit it." I'm like, I ain't gonna say no. Yeah, like sick, man. So I train him. We hit it to the right, jump back out. He's like, "Oh, that was sick. All right, cool, man. Let's do it backwards." And my jaw drops. I'm like, I'm about to gap from a landing to like a 6-foot gap into a curve wall right, and then go into a. I've never done this,
Yeah.
And he's like, "I do it, you do it." I'm like, "All right, let's do it." First time. I'm like, "Dude, this is sick." Got back up there, gave me nuts. He's like, "All right, cool. What else can we work on?" And then I see McCoy. He's like, "Yay, Mykel. Yo, your practice is over, bro." I'm like, "Oh, my bad. I didn't know." And I knew, but I was just trying to get some extra time. And Dave's like, "Oh, they giving you the boot, bro?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Oh, man, we're good riding with you." Gave me nuts. That type of interaction was such a lasting impression on me. So when I see these kids, it's like, just hang out, like be normal, man. Like I'm just stoked on BMX, and for these kids to chat it up. Like I want to know what kind of bike they ride. I want to know what they're into. I want to know like what's their impression of BMX, because at the end of the day, I feel like I have so much fun with it. I know that they're on the cusp of that, if not already. That's like, dude, like what kind of bike you got? Oh, sick. And usually it's like, oh, I got a blue bike. Yeah. Or my bike's red, or it's like simple stuff. And innocence is like still where my heart's at. And I'm just like, that's so cool, man. So to stop, take the time, ask a couple questions, just enjoy it. I mean, that to me, I think is huge. So I don't think any of it's like a conscious thing or effort on my part that I'm doing it for BMX. I think it's just a part of like my character, but at the end of the day, you know, those kids, if it does click and it inspires them to, you know, chase BMX even more so, awesome. If it's a shorter lived thing and they figure out they want to do something else in life, cool. But the principles are always one of those things like enjoy what you do.
Yeah.
Love what you do, you know? So
I always kind of looked at you, and I think it goes along with what you're saying here, is kind of like a working class BMX rider for the longest time. You were never a dude with big, high paying sponsors. You were a dude that was doing his best to make some cash in contests, riding shows, doing what you had to do to make it work. Would you say that's accurate?
Yeah, no, I think it's really fair, man. Anything I could do to keep the dream alive,
Yeah.
I've been willing to do. And it's, you know, been situations where there's a very lack of, you know, financial stability, and I'm still riding bikes. And that to me is just one of those things like how bad do you really want to enjoy your dream? Because there's a gift that everybody's gifted with. And it's one of those things like it's your responsibility to stay in touch with your dreams. And not to sound cheesy or anything like that, but it's one of those things like how bad do you really want it, you know? And I've had 9-to-5s. I've bussed tables. I've washed dishes. I've had a lot of different jobs, man. And those jobs are just never satisfying. I'm not chasing money.
Yeah.
If that was the case, man, I would have stopped riding BMX a long time ago.
Yeah.
You know, but that's the thing. And I'm chasing that thrill, man. And that to me, I think is what's kept me in it for so long. And the financial stability part of it, it's like the second that any of us are working for a paycheck, that's it. It's a wrap, you know. Need money to live, I get that, but at the same point in time, I'm searching for like, you know, landing that bar spin cleaner or landing on sticker on Vert or whatever it is. Like there's these small little incremental things that I chase, and that's what kind of creates my drive and my ability to kind of rise above all that BS when it gets too tough. And it's just like, all right, well, middle class working dude, cool. Like I'm with it, man. But as long as I get to go to the skate park after that and experience my bike, and like I'm winning, you know?
Absolutely. I was excited to see that you got on Rockstar recently.
Thanks, man.
That's kind of the first real corporate sponsor under your belt, I think, right?
Yeah, no, pumped on it, man.
What does that do for your life? I mean, that's got to add some solid financial stability you've probably never had before, right?
Yeah, and it's good. I mean, and again, we go back to like the working class thing. Having those jobs, I was always pumped on it, but it was one of those things like it was just, all right, I'm going to get to this next contest with not as much stress. I'm going to get to this next part with not as much stress. I could take a flight somewhere. I can go here and have that freedom to kind of just live, which is cool. With this situation with Rockstar, it's this awesome. The financial stability is one of those things where like I love that I have the backing and the support with that. But more so, it's like I look at the people on the team and it's like, dude, between Dennis and Chase and Chad and everybody else, I have such a solid group of guys that the financial part is like in the farthest back part of my mind, because I know that I get to become that much more of a better rider because I got these guys that are also pushing the sport like that. And that to me is more of what I'm interested in. And it's like when I ride with Dennis or Chad, it's always amazing, man. These guys are like pillars in the sport, you know?
Yeah.
And it just makes me very, very humble to, you know, share the deck with these dudes and just to know what they're capable of and to know what I'm capable of. And I always, like, I never want to be the person in the room with the most knowledge, you know? Like I always want to be absorbing something. I want to be a sponge, man, and learn something, you know? So, I think with Rockstar, the diversity of the team, the type of platform that these guys have between street riding, park riding, dirt, vert, mega, whatever it might be, it's across the board, which is cool. So it's such a, I don't know, diverse team that I'm stoked to be a part of something like that.
Yeah, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm happy for you on that.
I appreciate it.
Not a bad gig, you know. Who do you ride for right now? Hoffman, Rockstar, Vans?
Yeah, I mean, those three have been great, and it's just, you know, it's fun, man. I feel like, you know, Vans is another one too. Like they've always been super nice to me, man. It's just really cool to, you know, I mean, that company's been around forever.
Yeah.
And another stacked team. It's just one of those things. Like, I don't know. When I was younger, I could never afford them. Could never afford shoes. So I'd be like, you know, it's just one of those things where I'm like, especially when I'm buying them with my own money, I'm like, $60 for some shoes? Nah, man. Like, I want to buy these Airwalks, you know, and
yeah,
that was just what it was. But, you know, it's just, I mean, you can't beat the grip, man. That's the thing, you know. It's not me trying to like sales pitch the shoe. It's just one of those things. Like I've always been a fan of them, you know. So just to be able to get help here and there from them has always been great.
Well, they're great as well because they're a large company that's going to make their money, and they choose to do a lot in BMX. Mm-hmm. They could do less, you know, and it's important to support it, but you know, they could do less than they do. They go above and beyond and do a lot.
Yeah.
So I know you did all the Bikes Over Baghdad trips. I know you've done some of the military base shows with vans. Tell us, what's the craziest trip you've been on? Any crazy story or experience in some obscure country? If you can think of one.
Yeah, so Bikes Over Baghdad. I mean, some of the trips we've done with vans is great too, but those are like a little bit less...
Less you're going to die?
Yeah. But yeah, so I remember we were in Balad, if I'm not mistaken, and we're in the middle of a show, and all of a sudden the intercom goes on, and they're like, "Yo, we need these." They didn't say "yo," but they're like,
I was gonna be surprised if they did.
We need these blood types to report to medevac, you know. And so we didn't realize that there was something that had just gone down in the middle of our show, and there was somebody that had tossed about a coffee can size bomb over the wire onto the base, and it hit this Hummer, and they had some casualties, and so they were trying to save these people's lives. So right in the middle of the show, there was probably like, I don't know, 40 people that got up and just started, running.
Wow.
Like across the course, they were like, what do we stop? Like, what do we do? And our liaison was like, just keep going, like, stay the course. We're like, all right, okay. And then they go on the blackout. So it's like, no internet, no phone, no nothing. They don't want no leaks.
Yeah.
So we're just sat there, and we got word that morning that there was 3 people that had died.
Man, that's
and
crazy.
It's just crazy, man, because it's not, being in that situation, it's such a high-risk thing. And for me, it's just me. I think about people like Ron and Nate and Chad, like, they got families.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, for me, if that was the way that I went out, hey, like, I made my bed, I sleep in it kind of thing.
Yep.
I'm okay with that. But with them, they got families. It's crazy. And, the bullets and bombs, it's like, oh, no, you're a civilian. You're only here for entertainment. We're not going to, like, there's no...
Yeah. They don't discriminate.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you're
a human being and you're going to die.
Yeah. So that's just the stark reality of it. And it's just one of those wake-up calls that was necessary in my life at that point, because it's not like I was just cruising. Like, I'm always grateful and I appreciate, day to day, but that woke me up, bro. And so we're sat there, and it's one of those moments that you just count your blessings, and those people had just they've been there for maybe 3 months, and just like that, gone. So you think about their families, you think about, their parents, if they have loved ones, if they had families, whatever it might be, their kids and children. Like, it's tough, Aside from that, on a lighter note, there's certain buildings that are secure, certain ones that aren't. And so different bases have different codes, color codes, all this different stuff. So we're eating lunch, and there was like a mortar attack, and all of a sudden we're like, oh snap, what do we do? So we're like under the lunch table, we're like, oh man, like, and so everybody's like, what are you guys doing? Like, this is a secure building, you're good, And so we're like, oh, okay, joke's on us.
So does that mean like the building is made of a different material or something?
Yeah. So it's like less susceptible to, something blowing through the roof.
So you're hanging out under a table and you're pretty much in a bomb shelter.
Yep, yeah, pretty much. And they're like, what do you got? So it was a good laugh for them. So we're just like, oh, okay, you got us, And then we're on another base, maybe 3 or 4 days later. That one's not secure. So the code goes off. I mean, within a split second, everybody's whoosh underneath the table. We're like, oh snap! Like, so we go to the table, and I think that was a trip that Mykel was on, and I just remember we had just gotten ice cream, man. So him and I were just like, I'm eating my ice cream, he's eating his. I was like, hey, fuck it, cheers, man. Like, I don't know if this is it, like, but you can hear it popping off outside. We're like, man, this is crazy. So there's never anything that's expected. You never know what's gonna happen. So when stuff does happen, like, they prepare us the best they can. But aside from that, you got your flak vest and your helmet when you're traveling or going from spot to spot on base. But aside from that, man, like, you're there, and it's just one of those things, like, those experiences are once in a lifetime,
Did anybody ever go on those and then not go back?
Some people have. I mean,
like, some kind of get spooked out of them, or?
I don't know. Like, most people that have been on that trip love it so much that they would do anything for it.
Seems to be a lot of passion.
Yeah. So I think the high risk moments, obviously with BMX, like, I always live for that. Like, if I'm riding big air, dude, like, when I bailed out on that double flip at X Games recently, like, that, I didn't think, oh man, I'm gonna get hurt. I'm just like, yo, I'm trying this. This is sick, So my heart's in, that right spot. So you got logic versus ego, and I think ego says, oh, you got it. Logic's like, yo, bro, hit the eject button. This isn't good. And so same thing for those trips. Logic sets in. You're like, yeah, this is dangerous, but I love this so much, and it's bigger than us.
Yeah.
There was one guy that came over, and it's happened multiple times that these guys are like, man, I've been over here for like months, bro, and this is the first time, like, I kind of forgot I was in the desert, man. I just want to say thanks. That is right. That's why we do it, you know? And Armed Forces Entertainment, they've always been very hospitable to us. And it's just one of those things that you get the email, you're like, all right, let's get it. So for people that have been on it that don't go on some of the other ones, it's usually a schedule conflict.
Gotcha.
But to be honest, man, like, first trip, okay. That was probably one of the gnarliest experiences I've ever had in my life as far as the access that we had. So we're sleeping in Saddam Hussein's palace, right? This is gnarly. This JVB is a palace that he built for his daughter's wedding's guests. This dude was loaded. Like,
wow.
And it's not, I mean, without giving him too much, clout, it's like this dude was such an evil person. At the same point in time, he was balling. So we're staying in this palace, and it was just crazy, man. So, like, I just remember there's that photo that Rod posted. Keith Mulligan shot me doing a tuck-no-hander off of Saddam's desk.
Yeah, I remember
right?
that, yeah.
And that type of access was crazy, man. I'm just sitting there, like, and we met with the general that morning, and he's hanging out at breakfast, and we was like, hey, just want to say thanks for having us. And we just sat down and had breakfast with the general, man. Like,
that an important dude.
And we're in street clothes, man. That's that's not normal. So, so those are the type of experiences that when I look back at decisions that I made to walk away from architecture or track scholarships or whatever it was, you can't buy those moments, Yeah. And so that's the type I want to chase the things in life that money can't buy.
Yeah. So, I mean, I like both.
Yeah.
But I'm a pretty selfish dude.
Nah, there's a balance, man.
You got to find that balance.
Yeah.
So, are bikes over Baghdad done? Am I correct in understanding they're not going to happen anymore?
Yeah, I hope not, man. The past couple have gotten canceled just based on, security issues or, how dangerous things are.
I guess things would have to be perfect when you start scheduling guests to come perform for you.
Right. But at the same point in time, like, say there's a lull. When there's a lull like that, that's when it's necessary because these guys get cabin fever. They're just doing their daily in and outs, And to do that, it gets monotonous. They're hanging around people that just know what this machine does or what that machine does. And then we show up, we're like, yo, tell me about the tank, man. Like, what does that do? Like, oh, cool. So it kind of reinvigorates why they're there, what they're doing. So it's unfortunate, but, stuff's been popping off over there, man. So it's one of those, like, things that I always say yes. I'm always stoked when I get the email. But the past two got canceled. Hopefully, there has been talk about maybe another one this fall. But we'll see when we get there. I mean, if it's the case that, more people are coming home and they don't need our services anymore, awesome. But as long as there's still people there, man, and they want to have us, like, I'll keep going.
Yeah. That's awesome. What's next for you? You got the Nitro event at the new facility in Southern California?
Yeah, park contest, man. That's going to be pretty fun. When I got that email, I was kind of like, oh, I didn't know about it, really. And so I'd seen the training facility at that point, but that seems like that's going to be a really cool event. It's cool to see, what Nitro Circus is doing in the midst of everything between X Games and the Olympics and everything. Like, it's, X Games was like the number one thing that I was introduced to.
Yeah.
As far as like competitions and all that stuff. So that's always going to have a huge place in my heart. And that's always like been true and through. That was like, oh man, I'm going to do that one day, and now I'm having the privilege of doing it. But, with Nitro Circus coming in and doing what they're doing in BMX, there's more opportunity, more platforms to have fun and do our thing. So I think it's a rad event. And like I said, the park course looks sick. So
yeah, kind of crazy for Nitro to go from doing these big resi events to this concrete bowl.
Yeah, man.
I mean, interesting, but a good interesting.
Yeah,
I appreciate them putting money into it.
Yeah, and it's like, I mean, the support's there, which is cool. All the resi events and stuff like that. I mean, Nitro World Games is an amazing thing having those triples come out.
Yeah, the triples are awesome.
The skaters had like a real landing, and the thing is like, all right, if it's going to be a real landing or resi, at the end of the day, I'm myself personally growing up, when I learned flips, it was into the water, right?
Yep.
I didn't. There was no foam pit or resi at that point. So then when I heard about Woodward, I had one of my buddies, Alan, that went to Woodward and came back and he learned flips. I'm like, dang it, dude! Now, this was before I knew how to do them. And I was like, well, how'd you figure it out? He's like, oh, foam pit and resi and then the real box. But he said he didn't count it until he did it on wood. So I see some of these things where I'm like, all right, man, well, there's politics behind, all right, world first, is it done on wood or resi?
Yeah.
What do you count it? And I just kind of keep my nose out of it because at the end of the day, am I going to do a 1080 front flip? Nah, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'd rather do my own thing and just ride ramps and do my, whatever it is. But it does push the sport. And, for certain things, like, am I just going to try a triple flip on mega ramp? Just cold turkey? No. So it's like there's certain things where it does cater to that. Stuff that Travis Pastrana has done with action figures and all those different things. Nitro Circus, I mean, they've unlocked a lot of potential with motocross and action sports in general, just between skateboarding and BMX and scooters and all that different stuff. And, I mean, people, like I went to one of the Nitro Circus events in Madison Square Garden, and I think they sold that out.
Wow.
And that was crazy. So I went up there because Chad was riding Nitro Circus.
It's one of the old OG ones when Chad was still doing them. And okay.
And hands down, probably one of the better shows I've seen. Just everything, like the way they scheduled like different events, and like, oh, now we're doing best trick, and then we're doing contraptions and this and that. Like, it was such a well orchestrated show. It was kid friendly. Everybody was super into it, and Madison Square Garden's a huge deal.
Yeah.
So
a lot of big professional wrestling goes on there.
Yeah.
You know? That's where my heart is.
Everything. Yeah, man. So I just think that, you know, for them to kind of break ground into like park contests, just stoked. And I think it just adds to, you know, their credibility, and that they're kind of transitioning. I think it's cool. The triples added more credibility. The skate
well, if
side,
you can hold your shit together, it might add $30,000 to your pocket.
They got a purse. Yeah, they got a good purse too, man. Yeah, that's kind of crazy. And the number, that's the thing, man. Like, they're down to, you know, kind of push the sport, which is cool. And like I said, I mean, X Games has done that for so long. They're the OGs, you know, and I love that. And Nitro Circus is still new. They're in it, but they're like, hey, like, we could put up a good purse.
Yep.
You know, have these guys out. This would be sick. And it's just one of those dynamics, man. Like, I want it to be like it was when it was like 5 contests a year for Dew Tour. You had China X Games, you had US X Games, you had like all these different contests happening. You had the Worlds. Like, there was so much, and you would have to turn stuff down.
Yeah. Yeah.
And not like that anymore. So I hope that there's this resurgence and it gets back to that.
I had to turn an event down for the Nitro event. I was going to Poland. No, I'm not going to Poland. Oh. I'm bummed about it.
What was in Poland?
Baltic Games.
Oh, yeah, dude, yeah.
It's a smaller event, man, but the people that put it on they're great, and that city's awesome. It's one of my favorite things every year. Just, I love being there, man, and they're really good. You know, the BMX love there is so pure because they don't get many things like that, you know. So it's a cool thing to experience, and they're always take great care of me. So I felt bad to miss it this year, but
balance, man.
Can only be in one place at one time, you know?
That's right,
so,
that's right.
Wrapping things up here, I need to know who your favorite BMX rider of all time is.
I got a couple, man.
No, you got to name one.
No.
If you got a couple, the one you say first counts as it.
Man, that's tough, bro.
It's supposed to be tough.
There's so many. Man. I mean, to be honest, it's just Matt. And the reason it's Matt is because he always pushed the envelope, and he went outside the box. I feel like I've always been outside the box as far as, like, you know, me growing up and, you know, my childhood, and just, I don't know. It was just one of those things. That dog is pissed. Yeah, no. So anyways, I think it would definitely be Matt, just because of his creative outlook on BMX riding, the amount that he's given to BMX. I mean, this dude sacrificed his body and limb, like, through and through, just for the thrill. Even
aside from his body, the parts of his brain he's lent to BMX by inventing so much and crossing so many boundaries. Dude. Like, nobody's given as much to BMX as Matt has.
I agree. You know, so if he, you know, could be coined the godfather of BMX, I think that's fair. I think that's something that's very accurate, and he's influenced everybody, you know. And it's like, people could say, you know, to go from like, I heard a kid yesterday at Anderson's thing, like, man, Dennis is my favorite rider, man. Like, I just want to ride like him one day. And that's dope, because there has to be these guys that kind of take that platform for these younger generations, and for these kids to learn their history. I mean, even last night with Volker, it's like you see the type of influence. So if it was Blather, Dominguez, Johnson, Volker, Robinson, Kagi,
Sean
Hoffman,
Butler, Ronnie Chalk,
Butler, dude, all, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, Spanish Fly, there's so many dudes, man. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I love that, because at the end of the day, we have this wide range, but I think at the top of that, as far as people going to the extreme of pushing it and saying what's possible, Matt was at the head of that, you know. And I just, you know, I love his passion for it. He's still passionate about it, and I love that, you know, he never let up.
How stoked are you to ride for Hoffman bikes?
Immensely, man. I mean, that was my first bike. My first legit bike, you know. So to have that come full circle is a huge honor, man. And that it's bigger than that, though, which is like, when him and I chat, it's like, you know, that's my dude, man. And I really appreciate just being able to be in the same, you know, chapter in this life with Matt, and that we can have a laugh and just enjoy BMX in that, because, you know, shit ain't gonna last forever.
I was at X Games last week, and they were like kicking me off the course because of all the crazy ESPN rules, and they weren't supposed to be kicking me off the course. So I was like complaining to Matt, like, Matt, you got to sort this out, blah blah, you know, whatever. And I kind of like reality set in, and I'm like, I'm complaining to Matt Hoffman. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but see, that's the thing though, right? Because it's like, I mean, you honestly, he's so chill and just normal.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what I mean. It's like when I say, you know, the stuff ain't gonna last forever. It's like one of those, I can't ride forever. But Matt's always that catalyst where it's like, well, maybe you can ride forever. And I just love it because at the end of the day, man, you know, it's Matt. And he's so low key and chill. And when people see him, like, oh my gosh, yo, it's Matt. And I love that people are still starstruck. But at the same point, it's like, if you really knew Matt, you're just like, man, what's up, man? It's just, it's so even keel and mellow and chill. And, you know, his character is always one of those, like, he's just trying to have fun, you know? And
I think he does. I think he does have fun.
You're right.
That's a mission accomplished there. Mm-hmm. Well, Mykel, anything else you care to add?
No, I mean, this is dope. You know, it's always fun being able to, you know, catch up with you. And I appreciate just having the opportunity to kind of pick my brain and pick your brain and just have these, you know, dope conversations, man. Because I think that the foundation of BMX for a lot of younger kids is a different version than how we grew up. And I think at the end of the day, it's like sometimes you don't know where you're going till you know where you've been.
Yeah.
And the fact that I get the influence from all these heavy hitting pioneers and pillars in BMX is just one of those things that make me look through the lens that I have. And I don't know, it's just, I'm just stoked on it, man, because if it was earlier or later, it would be different. And I'm very grateful for exactly every ounce of what it is.
Grateful for the present.
That's it.
Well, congratulations on an incredible year between winning in Boise and competing in 3 sports at X Games and getting on Rockstar. You've had a good one.
Thanks, man.
So congratulations on it, and cheers to many more.
Thanks, man.
Thank you, Mykel. You're a wonderful man.
Appreciate it, man.
Really handsome, too.
Thanks, bro.
All right, that does it for this week. Thanks to Mykel for joining us. Be sure to follow him on Instagram at Mykel Larrin, MykelLarrin. Tell him what a great guy he is. And until next week, just remember, it doesn't count if you don't pull the rollback. Thanks.